Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back. So nice to have you. Well, it's that time of the week for me. Time for the weekly reading update. So, let's chat about what I got into this past week. It's also the end of April. I mean, April is just gone. It has just came and went, and we're just moving on into May now. So. Okay, let's just go. I mean, April's done and dusted, so I finished 4 things this week, so I did pretty good. I got in the mood to just read a short, quick, little saucy erotica book. I needed something kind of light and, just something different than what I was reading, I guess. And so I dove into Surrender, an erotic short by Rilzy. And yeah, it was just what I was needing at the moment. It is a very short kind of novella, and it was fun. It's this old friends. They were friends in college of this kind of larger friend group. They were both always kind of attracted to each other, but never really acted on it. And so, as that final day of college, they're, saying goodbye to, everyone. And the guy is like, okay, so in 12 years, if neither of us, are in a relationship or anything, let's get together and knock the boops. And so that's what they do. We meet them 12 years later. The guy's like, hey, you remember that thing that we did, that little bet that we made? She's like, are you for real? And he's like, yeah, I'm for real. And so they meet in the Caribbean and this fancy villa and get it on. And of course, they realize that they're compatible and have always liked each other all these years. Oh, why have they waited so long to get together? They're perfect together. It was fun and cute and steamy and sexy. And it was just fun. Sometimes I just want something like this, and this fit the bill for me. And very steamy, some light kind of BDSM scenes. Just in case that's not your thing. But otherwise, it was fun and cute and very sexy. So, hey. So moving on to something totally different. It's Seeds of Yesterday by V.C. Andrews, book 4 of the Dollenganger series that I know I'm reading as part of the V.C. Andrews read along that Kelly Hooked on Books put together for us for this year. We've got a group of, I don't know, eight or so of us that are reading this, and she has a group chat for us set up on Instagram. I'll link her below. So yeah, we're at book 4, and so those kids from Flowers in the Attic are now adults and have grown-up kids of their own in this story. And so it follows some the kids that we met in the previous book, If There Be Thorns. They were smaller kids in that book, so now they're, like I said, they're into their 20s and all that kind of stuff. The big house from Flowers in the Attic comes back into play in this book. So, yeah. And as always, there's family drama. It's very much a soap opera. And I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it much more than I did book 3. Book 3 was just a real struggle for me to get through. This one was it's really just more of a soap opera. So if you're at all a soap opera fan, I think that you'll dig V.C. Andrews books basically. But so yeah, intrigue, backstabbing, family not getting along, very much a soap opera. I love soap operas. I went through a really big phase of watching soap operas through several points of my life. Now there's not too many soaps left, like the old school, daytime soaps. There's not, there's only a handful of them. Not even a handful. I think there's 3 or 4 of them left that are on. But gosh, back in the day, I loved My General Hospital and Young and the Restless. Holla holla if you were an old soaps fan. But yeah, these read very much like a soap opera, and for me, that's enjoyable. Just, you getting like this little peek into like this whole family's drama. It makes you just feel a little better about what you're going through, because they're not as crazy as they are. So it was fun, and so of course we'll wrap it up in May with book 5 of that series, and that'll be the end of that series. So it's been fun, honestly. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, then I dug into, let me grab this one. I've been reading Hell House, and I've been reading this one for a little while, and I finally finished it. This, of course, is the classic haunted house story by Richard Matheson. This was from the 70s, right? Let me look. 1971. And I ended up liking this one. Even though it took me a while to read, and that's just because I was really struggling with kind of like physically reading lately. I was just really tired, and I would read and just in the evening and just fall asleep. No fault of the book, just totally me being an older person now. but yeah, so but yeah, I really ended up liking this one. It's the classic sort of this group of people going back to this house to find out if it is indeed haunted, because through the history there's just been some awful things going on here, and particularly with a sort of former tenant, of the place, Belasco, Mr. Belasco. So, and it's sort of, affectionately called Hell House. I mean, that sounds like a romping good time, and what could go wrong, right? So there's a man who is more of kind of a paranormal scientist kind of guy, who's there like basically debunk ghosts, and he and his wife are part of the group. There's this medium woman who's coming in, and she's trying to free the spirits that are trapped there. And then there's a fourth guy who has actually been to Hill House before and survived, and so they were kind of hired and then going to be paid money if they can, I think they have like a week to spend there. And it is a very slow building story. We get there, the people are coming in, a little bit of history about the house, and then they're kind of going back their kind of day-to-day things, or getting their meals and exploring the place, figuring out what's going on, because it's a big mansion. There's even like an indoor swimming pool and like a big steam room and all these rooms and bedrooms. It's a big house. So they're investigating and they're looking around, and then of course things start happening. Is it haunted? Is this awful Belasco and his debaucherous guests of the past, are they still there and tormenting these four folks here? And yeah, I liked it, but it is a more of overall a more quiet story, which it's not everyone's thing, but the scenes that were kind of portraying the hauntings, there's like a dinner table scene that was like crazy. There's a scene in the steam room. I mean, all kinds of stuff. They were good. They're very good creepy scenes. If that kind of stuff creeps you out, not everyone even gets creeped out by haunted house books. I think sometimes they're kind of love or hate kind of thing. You take them or leave them. I appreciate a good ghost, good haunted house story. So this one definitely worked for me. I really enjoyed the writing, and yeah, I don't know, the characters were kind of interesting and how they played off of each other, because you have kind of this more of a skeptic man of this scientist who's bringing in this huge machine and all this, and then this medium who of course is very much a believer of the spirits and that she can help them, so there's a clash there. It was quite sexual and that I just wasn't expecting from Richard Matheson for whatever reason. I don't but there's some sexual situations that pop up, people losing control of themselves, and yeah, I don't know, I just really liked this book. Ended up really liking it, and I think I just kind of like the Matheson that I've read so far. So next month I get to read I Am Legend finally. So yeah, I am working my way through his stuff, and this was a hit for me. So this was this was the book club pick for Kelly's From Hell book club, where she, we read vintage horror books, and so it was a fun one. So yeah, I liked it quite a bit. And then finally, most recently, I have finished After Dark by Haruki Murakami. This was for my little book club that I run with some friends of mine, and yeah, so this was my very first Murakami, believe it or not. I know he's got like a million books, but I've not read a single one of them. And honestly, I think this is a pretty good place to start with him. From what I hear a lot about Murakami with his sort of surrealism, and sometimes it could be a bit of a challenge to read. But this, I feel, is a good place for me to start. And I liked this book a lot. And it's both. Okay, let me step back. So basically, we follow a few, sort of a handful of characters over the span of one night. It's after dark, so her story picks up at around midnight-ish, and follows on through kind of till dusk of the next morning, right? Or dawn, rather, of the next morning. Dusk is in the evening, dawn's in the morning. Okay. But anyway, so like I said, there's just sort of a handful of characters. There's a sort of a young, college student who is just trying to basically stay up all night. She's kind of got some family things going on. There's a young man who I really liked, was Takahashi, who is another kind of a law student, but is also, he's rehearsing with his band through the night. There's a few people that work at this Love Hotel, which is basically kind of a rent by the hour kind of hotel. There's even sort of this threat of violence that comes through here at the Love Hotel when a sex worker is brutally attacked. And then there's this office worker man who is, working the late night overnight shift. And it just kind of threads through this night. It really just this sort of, well, it's like a few block radius of this Japanese city. I don't even think the city is even, I don't think we know even specifically what city it's in. And so the sections with those characters are really kind of slice of life, they're talking with each other and learning about each other because they've just really met, besides the young girl Mari and Takahashi, who had only met one time previously. Everyone, some of folks are just meeting people for the first time, so how that when you meet people for the first time, and we're going to learn a bit about their lives and their families and all that, their aspirations, their goals, their fears, their I don't know, just as these brief conversations throughout the night. And then the sort of surrealness pops in with a character. And yeah, this is where, like I said, the surreality comes in. And with the character Eri, who is actually Mari's sister. And we meet Eri as an onlooker, because she's sleeping the entire night. And it's even the way the story is, her sections rather are told to us. Excuse me. And even some of the other parts are kind of like this, I don't know, this sort of bird's eye view of things. It's, we see, like, it'll be like we are watching Eri as she sleeps. She's moving her hand up slightly. We know this because we were there watching, but we can't do anything. It's like, I don't know, the way it's written, it's hard to explain, I guess. But so here's a little section where we're looking at Eri, who is the girl that's basically asleep the whole night. Our viewpoint has returned to Eri's room. A quick scan reveals nothing changed. The night has deepened with the passage of time, however, and the silence is 1 degree heavier. Like, that's how her sections are written. And we learn something about Eri, and the whole part is weird too. And I don't know, I just really liked this book. There is an oddness of of the writing. Again, particularly with Aries' scene. And there's this connection that those other characters have, particularly Mari and Takahashi, that is really quite lovely, actually. And there's a sadness underneath, but these characters also seem to have, it's kind of a positivity and a possible hope for the future, though there's also fear. And I don't know, I liked this book a lot. and I think having a positive experience with the Murakami book to start out with, I think is good and has spurred me on that I think I'm finally ready to dive into more. I do have a couple of his books on my shelf, so at least on my Kindle too, so I can definitely dig into more. And now that I've kind of made the plunge, right, and jumped in. And yeah, so I liked it a lot. I think I ended up with 4 stars on that. I just thought it was quite wonderful. So yeah, that's what I have finished for the week. Broad bit of things there for that week. And well, that's how we do over here in my house. I don't know. So in progress, I must say I did really pretty poorly this week with my short story reading and my poetry reading. I think maybe I read one or two, and so it's just been one of those weeks. And I'm still in the progress of reading The True Bastards by Jonathan French, book 2 of the Lotlands series. Excuse me. And it's still not very far. I really need to finish this like ASAP. So I'm gonna really try to focus on this for the weekend to get it finished up. It's gonna carry over into May, which is fine, but I really want to finish it up because I want to read it, right? But I have book 3 planned for May, so I need to finish this one ASAP. I really should have started it earlier. Note to self. But I'm, a third of the way through-ish or so. And I'm enjoying it, so I just need to be able to stay up and read it, you know what I mean? Not fall asleep. And that's the story, because I started an audiobook that I forgot. Yes, I started an audiobook. I started The Other Black Girl. And I'm maybe a third of the way or so through that one. Still kind of feeling this one out. And so I'll kind of report back later on that one. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat this evening. I think that's it for things going in progress. So we'll roll right into May. I did post my May TBR of my, of course, really large stack of books I want to read for May, because I do how I do. But yeah, it's fun. So it is the end of April, so let me do just a quick April wrap up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I did read 21 things this month, so even though some of the things I've slowly kind of got through, I still read a lot of books this month. The low was definitely If There Be Thorns by V.C. Andrews. I finished that right at the beginning of the book. Right at the beginning of the book. That's the beginning of the month. It kind of rolled over from March. I did not like that one at all. My favorite book, definitely Razor Blade Tears. Do I have it? Yes. Definitely Razor Blade Tears. Oh God, I loved this book. I really, really did. I thought it was just so wonderful. It was my only 5-star of the month, I think so. Yep. So yeah, definitely my fave. But I did read like Queen of the Cicadas too, which I think I gave 4.5 stars. So I really liked that a lot too. And Book of the Damned was a lot of fun. So yeah, I read some good stuff this month. I did Old School April, of course, which is Kelsey from over at Slime and Slashers, her big themed readathon, which was a lot of fun. I read a Goosebumps book. I read Misery for that, and Hell House was actually going to be a part of that too. I read a Fear Street book, so that was fun. My old school April watching was pretty fun. I ended up watching an episode of Pete and Pete. I really enjoyed Pete and Pete. I watched an X-Files episode, the one about the Jersey Devil. I don't remember that one. That was like a one. I watched Flowers in the Attic, the old movie from the 80s. I watched Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite movies. I feel like I watched something else old school, like an old school movie. Now I'm not remembering. I didn't watch it down. Oh, I watched The Brood. How good is that one? Classic Cronenberg. There was something else I watched. Now I'm not remembering what it was. But anyway, I had fun. I didn't get to everything that I had planned, of course. And I didn't get to probably a good third of the TBR that I had planned for the month either. And that's fine. I make a big TBR and I get to what I get to. So those other books will be waiting for me another day. So yeah, had a good month, and looking forward to May. We've got Horror Mayhem and lots of book clubs and buddy reads planned for May that I'm really excited for. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me today. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, like always, I just so appreciate your time. And till next time, that's gonna do it for me. And bye.